everybody, welcome to George Reviews. I am the 80s Transformer fan. Today on George Reviews, I'll be taking a look at McFarlane's DC Multiverse Man-Bat. Now you're going to hear me say every time I do a DC McFarlane review that I do not like the fact that McFarlane has the license. With all the choices he has to pull from in the DC Multiverse, he pulls the most gothic and dark and grim type figures. Now with the Man-Bat, it's slightly different because even though he's stylized from the Rebirth, the Man-Bat figure can kind of be fudged into different eras in DC because it's a giant half man, half bat with pants on, so he can kind of fit anywhere. So I was happy to get this figure, and I picked it up at GameStop while I was on clearance, and then I had a $5 coupon on top of that. Got this guy for 15 bucks at GameStop. So he is packaged in the standard DC Multiverse packaging. There is nothing spectacular about this box, but it is a clear window box for all mint and box collectors to enjoy. On the back of the box, it is some artwork from the new 52 comic book run of the Man-Bat. So let's get this guy down and take a look. Okay, here is our Man-Bat. I'm going to get this guy open. Slit the tape on this guy. I love large scale figures in any toy line. I like when companies have to make something outside of the norm, and this figure fits that category as far as the scale and the body, because I don't see them being able to use this thing for anything else but Man-Bat and some Man-Bat repaints. So get this guy untied. Here is our Man-Bat out of the packaging, and these ankles feel light already. He's so heavy, I just see this thing falling over immediately. I'm trying to stand him up, see what happens. Oh, we got standing. And in the back of the package, we get a collector card. It's the same artwork seen on the back of the packaging, and a little bit of a bio right here. You want to pause that and read that. And we have one figure stand. Oddly enough, as big as this figure is, this is the same figure stand this packs standardly with all the other DC figures. Alright, on to the Man-Bat himself. And just as I feared, he has some very weak ankles. Like, I mean, when I took it out of the pack, you could just feel it. Like, it doesn't take much to move it. And clearly, this guy is super top heavy. And the arms are solid. I don't know how hollow the chest is, but he's a heavy figure. And he's on this sort of like werewolf hind leg stance where he can't stand up straight and distribute the weight more evenly throughout his legs. And it's just, with the knees bent forward, this guy's ready to fall over immediately. Now, I know I can tighten the joints, but coming out of the packaging, and this thing retailed like 40 bucks, I think was the original retail price. Maybe a little bit over 40 bucks. I think it's like twice the normal figure or whatever. I mean, you can get them to stand, boom, but those ankles are pretty weak. So let's take a look at our Man-Bat. Let's take a look at the face. Now, McFarlane sculpts for the price classification that they're in are second to none. I'll give him that. Definitely. But just his choices on which era he's drawing his DC characters from is like, eh. And obviously they sell, so, you know, maybe I'm the only person that's tripping on it. Then, take a look at this face, which is sculpted amazingly. But I can tell you, I wish these ears, this is like a purple, and his gums is a purple. I wish we could have got a little bit more pink out of it, and I wish we could have got a little bit of bone white on his teeth right there, which are sculpted amazingly well. His eyes look fantastic. They're scoped within the sockets and the red of the eye. That looks great. Looks amazing. The fur is sculpted very well. The sculpt on the wings, the veins running through them look fantastic. The hair on the arms, the shading is really good. The texture in the pants is nice. Got a little bit of scrape on my belt right here. A little paint missing. Turn them around. We got the pockets, back of the jeans. A little detailing on his feet. The toenails look pretty good. The sculpt of the feet look good. His chest and abdomen are well done. But the figure overall looks good. And like I say, It's hard to beat his sculpts for the price range that these figures fall in. But a lot of times where they fail at, especially his larger figures, are the articulation and the accessories. So let's take a look at that. Let's start with his articulation. I'm going to take the Man-Bat head for a 360. It looks weird because of the way his head, his neck and head is positioned, kind of jutting out forward. But it totally 360s. Has a little bit of movement in it. Then he has like a secondary collar right here. The neck and head area has like a unique little articulation. It can drop up and down at this point right here. And also at the main head moves up and down. That's kind of unique and weird, but still cool. I guess we can get more motion out of that. Maybe it's supposed to 360 at this point, and it does actually. Okay, we do get a little bit of up and a little bit of down out of there. So I guess we have to live with that. Wish the mouth open and close are hinged just a little bit. Then he has an abdomen crunch right here. And there's a lot of movement out of that. Good range. Then he articulates at the waist. That is a lot, actually, right there. And let's get back up to his shoulder area. And because of the fur, I mean, this is amazingly sculpted and painted. He could get a full 360 out of that. He can come up. Wow, surprisingly, I thought it would hit this part, but it comes up this far over here. Then coming to the elbow bend. It's going to be a tough one. He can get this much out of elbow bend. And I don't know if it's due to because of how he wanted to keep the design of the sculpt, but there is no wrist swivel, which I'm disappointed in. And I'm not just wrist swivel, articulated hands. I would have loved an open claw, like swiping or grabbing so he can hold a Batman figure or something in his hands type hand. And I'm disappointed that we don't get interchangeable hands. And not just because of the sculpt. They could have had the sculpt just stop and be a separate piece or something like that and just have it like hang over sort of like this. How we got two pieces right here. They could have did that at the wrist and gave us hands. I think it's really disappointing. And I knew what I was buying when I bought it. You can see it in the package. But it's disappointing that he didn't do interchangeable hands with this figure. And continuing past the waist, I kind of went back up. We can get his legs out this far, which is a lot considering the fact that the legs are stuck in a certain pose. And I mean, that's a lot. The little pants right here is a softer plastic, so it has a lot of give. You can get the leg back this far, like he's chasing Scooby-Doo. And coming to the knee, he is double jointed, which is weird because again, he can't fully stand up straight. So we got the double joint out of there. He has an ankle swivel right here, and it moves front, back, side to side with a great range of motion, but it could just be a little bit stronger for my taste and for the weight of this figure. Amazing looking dude, though. Definitely an awesome looking figure. There are a couple of things I wish was done better, but for the price I got him at and the sculpt and the feel of the plastic, the plastic feels very high quality. And I can take a look at the tattered jeans. The scratches in the jeans, his fur underneath is painted well throughout the scratches. That looks good. Not a lot in the back. Then he actually sprang for a separate plastic piece right here. It's not just, you have the jean plastic here, then it stops, and he added an extra piece. I love that. I love using plastic over paint. You know what I mean? Like put two different pieces of plastic in there. So I actually love that right there. And this guy, the size and bulk, this is a very, very cool figure. Just wish it's time to size Man-Bat up and run him down. Here he is with Spawn, Marvel Legends Venom, Transformers the Movie Studio Series Grimlock, McFarlane Animated Series Batman, and McFarlane's Clayface. These two guys look like Scooby-Doo villains. It's Old Man Jenkins. Okay, after the size up and rundown, it's time for my final thoughts. I really like this figure, and again, surprisingly, with most of the DC figures that I open, I'm a huge DC fan. I just don't like McFarlane's stylization and take on a lot of these figures. But once I get his figures open, I tend to be surprised more often than not. This is another cool entry. Love the scale of this figure. What I wish they had done, I wish we could have got a swivel at the wrist hinge. I wish we could have got interchangeable hands or just molded his hands open. I would have loved to see open hands with claws because he has some pretty great molded claws on his feet or toenails, whatever. I would have loved to see some claw hands sticking out on his hands. And I wish, probably this is probably a stretch, but I wish we could have got an open wingspan. That would have been amazing. Had this guy in full flight. I think it would have been even more impressive as a figure and a display piece to have an open wingspan from this guy. I wish the mouth, the gums in the mouth and the flesh tone in the ears had been more pink instead of this purple. It looks kind of weird in purple, you know, to be honest with you. So that concludes my take on DC's Multiverse Man Bad. I want to thank everybody for watching another episode of George Reviews. And as always, you just watch the review where every toy has a story.